this session. Sharing my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. So today's totally introductory, session on top of data. So what is data and why nowadays we can see that people are hiring data engineers and all. It's a hot market. Whoever is a bit expert on top of data. It's a hot skill. You can also say on top of data, there is lots of skills also available. It's just a crash course, so you can take multiple things after that. So this is the basic steps to. You have some experience on top of the overall data, how it should work from source system to target. And after getting accustomed to data, if you have some more experience in any of the company, then you can just choose any one or two more competencies with some depth level to get it. To get another job or switch your jobs for a particular specialist one. Okay, that thing will be covered later. So first of all, what is data? It's collection of information, obviously. And what is data used for? It's describing quantity, quality, statistics, fact. Okay. So in our day-to-day life, not all the sectors, all the industries, they're collecting the information from maybe some source system. Maybe what are their performance in let me just give you some examples over there. So suppose I am in a banking industry, banking and finance industry. Okay. So daily basis, what are the transactions of the bank that can be stored in a database? Okay. So when the business owner want to analyze the data for their betterment of their progress or maybe betterment of their business, they can check their data or they can analyze on their data. So to check their data or to take their decisions, they have to make the transactional data into meaningful data. And that meaningful data will help the business analyst or the business team to have a clear picture what are the hidden trends that is there inside their business, which is causing a particular loss. Or maybe if there is some pattern that if I just follow this pattern, then the business can be growth. There will be a high growth on the business. Okay, high growth is there. So this kind of so that's the purpose of the data engineers. They make the data from a meaningless, the transactional data, to meaningful one. So transactional data means transactional data I'll be just teaching you tomorrow, but brief introduction, just like the daily basis transactions that I told. So maybe the banking industry, they are having some tool designed on top of JavaScript or anything, a web page or anything is there. So when they are putting some information, the banking employees put some information of customers, then that can be directly captured in transactional database. It is the raw data. Okay, so raw data is being stored in database. Now data engineers start working on top of this raw database. So it's not on banking industry only. It's maybe a insurance sector as well. It can be pharmaceutical company. Okay, in every aspects. Suppose we have particular industry having sensors and all. So they are just measuring each of seconds, each of the places they are measuring some. Uh, Suppose we have some temperature sensors. So each of the altitude they are checking altitude versus temperature. Okay, this kind of stuffs. Maybe I'm just flying with aeroplane. So aeroplane machineries, there are sensors to check the latitude, longitude, as well as the height. So, I mean, by the sensors as well as the temperature, various parameters are there to measure. So, based on that, they will be taking easy decisions. The pilot are taking easy decisions, which altitude they have to come and all. So, this kind of stuff. So, they are quickly analyzing it. The sensors are taking data. Those are transactional data. Okay, and that is quickly transferred to meaningful one, and they are seeing that their particular altitude is fine as of now as per their flying. But I mean, the whole decisions can be made after the transactional data can be transferred to meaningful one. Okay. Yeah, anyone is telling anything? Okay, I think it's a noise. So that is called data, and the data is very much, I mean, helpful nowadays. And it's I mean, data engineers are there to make it a meaningful data from transactional data, and it can store the transactional data to meaningful data, and it can store the same thing in a different database. And the database rather can be used by data scientists. There may be various data analysts. There may be business analysts. Lots of, I mean, person will check the data as per their own way to have this. I mean, everything should be there for the business purpose only. So how the business can be achieve their goal. Okay. Uh, what is the next topic? Let me check. Yeah, purpose of the data engineer that I just covered. So going ahead with the next slide. Yeah, so those kind of data engineers are working on those kind of sectors. So if you are working as a data engineer for a particular company, so you can see your client may be banking sector, it can be some commercial sector, it can be insurance sector, it can be medical, that means medical devices and all. Okay, pharmaceutical companies there. So those are the big industry. Nowadays, they are following data engineers. I mean, anything. I mean, you should be having some business knowledge on top of that one, and obviously the technical knowledge. If you have the technical knowledge, you can move into any of this company. But as your role is, I mean, you should be also always having technical knowledge. There will be no issue. But if you just want to have growth only one particular enterprise, then you need to know the business of that particular sector as well. Okay. If you are going with higher roles and all with the technical knowledges, something you need to know about the businesses. So how the thing can be interpreted into one another. So that thing will be learning slowly, but it's very much useful in the latter phases of your career. Okay, now I'm just going ahead with the DB, relational database versus non-relational database. Okay, so relational database, I mean, there's a small difference on top of that one. But what is relational database? So this kind of, in relational database, the data can be stored in tabular formats. Okay, so the upper one is a relational database. The same data can be represented at the non-relational database over here. So in relational database, there are two particular columns, that is name and email. There are two records. I mean, the columns are the various subject areas and records are the rows. Okay. In the particular table, there are two records for, I mean, Ram and their, I mean, his mail ID, Bob and his mail ID. The same data can be represented over here. It's a non-relational database storing key as a key value pair. Okay. It can be a JSON. JSON is a non-relational database. XML, YML. So those kind of stuffs are non-relational database. Okay. So we can also use this thing to represent the same data. There is nothing, no difference between upper data and lower data. Okay. So this is the thing. Moving ahead to the next slide and moving ahead with the more thing. What is relational database and non-relational database? and which purpose we'll be using which thing, that we need to know. But for the data analyst purpose, we need to know relational database more than non-relational database, because for the data analysis part, relational database is much more faster. Okay, we can use SQL to have the data manipulation on top of relational database, which we'll be learning after 1 or 2 days. So we can put, or we can write multiple SQL queries to fetch data from the relational database. We can manipulate it and we can store it back to the database again. And non-relational database can be used for various purposes as well. Non-relational database is very much fast. I mean, it's very much faster than relational database, but it's not been used for data manipulation or data engineering perspective. Rather, to fetch any kind of quick data, you can use non-relational database. Okay, so just not for manipulation. If it's not for manipulation, just we need to fetch. The system needs to fetch it. For this purpose, we can use non-relational database, but the data cannot be manipulated, or it's not very much helpful to use as a data scientist or data engineer or anyone to have a quick manipulation on top of that. Okay, so moving ahead on the relational database now. What is relational database? Yeah, relational data is also called relational database management system. In short, it is called RDBMS. Okay, it stores information in tables. It should be in tabular format, which is having columns and rows. Okay, and the name is also coming relational. Why it's relational? If we store the, store the records in tabular format, then we should be in a particular database. There should be various tables. Okay, not only one table. So we have customer table having only customer related information. Customer ID should be one column. Customer name should be one column. We have another thing that is called product related table. So we can set up relationship between two or multiple tables. Okay, in relational database that is possible. We'll be learning join and all between two tables. So in the database, the relational table should be there, and between those tables, we can set up joining clauses and all to fetch records between two or multiple tables. Okay. So that is why, it's relational database, because we can set up relationship between two or multiple tables. Okay. So the third point, a table must be having a primary key. Just like customer ID, the particular key column, there should be a unique identifier for a particular individual record, and that particular identifier cannot be duplicated in nature. Okay, so unique, that is called primary key. I'll be just coming to the pictorial diagram that you should be having a good idea. Let me show this thing, otherwise yeah. So this is an RDBMS example. Over here I can see there are 4 tables. First one is customer table, second one is order table, this one is address table, storing only addresses, and this is product table. Okay, so if we are using this kind of relational database, there must be having some primary key and foreign key. I'll be going ahead with detailing thing what is keys and all in tomorrow's session, but just have a quick knowledge on top of that. In customer table, customer ID is the primary key. The ID cannot be repeated for other customers. Suppose customer one ID is 1, having with only one person. Nobody should be having customer ID 1. Suppose you are joining in a company, you should be having some employee ID. And that ID, you are only belongs to that ID. Nobody should be there for that ID. Maybe there are different, there are customer name as well, customer date of birth as well. We are not picking those columns as a primary key, because Date of birth can be repetitive in nature. Customer name can be repetitive in nature, but customer ID cannot be repetitive. It should be unique value. Okay. So that is called customer ID. That is called unique key. And we can see there are order ID, address ID. Those are the foreign key, which are the common reference from other table as well. Because order ID, this is the common column over here. Order ID is the primary key from order table, and order ID is a foreign key of customer table. So there are matching of these two records. We can have join on top of order ID and this order ID and this order ID, and fetch order related information, that is product ID and date, from this table to this table. So based on common columns, we can join between multiple tables. What is join and all we'll be learning while we'll be learning the SQL thing. Okay, no need to worry about, just have some basic concept. It's a relational database, means we can set up relation between two or multiple tables based on the common columns. The common columns, maybe one of the column is the primary key from one table, order ID is the primary key from order table, and order ID is the foreign key of the customer table. Similar kind of stuffs. Address ID is the primary key of address table. Address ID is the foreign key of customer table. Okay, so we can set up relationships between these two tables by address ID. And we have product ID in the product table as well. Product ID, there is no direct relations from product to customer. Rather, I can say it's having a relationship between order and product table. Product ID is the common column. Product ID is the primary key over here, and product ID is the foreign key over there. So we can set relationship based on product ID and fetch product related information from here to here. Okay. Okay. Based on this example, any doubt from anyone or any issue while learning the thing from your side? If yes, please tell me. Okay. Hopefully it's no. Cool. So you can able to understand. I can get some noise if there is anyone. You can put yourself in mute if you are not talking. Deepa, can you please put yourself mute? Noise is coming, that's why. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Okay, no issue. So, moving ahead with the next topic. Yeah, so while manipulating data on top of relational database, okay, so we have to use some language, and that is called SQL or SQL. Anybody can tell in any way. It's same. SQL or SQL, the main thing is written as SQL, that is called structured query language. So we'll be learning this language, how to manipulate the data in the database on top of those relational data only. Okay, it should not be worked on top of non-relational database. Okay, it can be worked only on relational database. And this kind of query, this is called query. This is a programming line. Select, this is a particular column name, product name, price is another column name. So select column names from is a keyword. This is particular table. In product table, there are two columns called product name and price. So I'm selecting these two columns from product table, and there is a filter when or where the product ID is 23, means we'll be only selecting that particular record to show in my output where product ID is 23. Okay, so this kind of thing we'll be learning in tomorrow's, not tomorrow exactly. Maybe after 2 or 3 days, we'll be going ahead with installing our databases and all. We'll be learning this thing. Okay, so this is called SQL and or structured query language, anything you can say. Okay, now a quick heads up what is non-relational database that I just mentioned some times ago. So it's also called, not SQL only, not only SQL, or it's no SQL as well. Okay, is any kind of databases that doesn't use the tables, fields, and columns should not be there. Okay, so it should not be having the structured data concept just like relational database, but it should be represented by specially key value pair. Okay, so here is an example of non-relational database. So we can use the key value pair, just like first name should be John. This is the entire set of one record. Then again, it should be starting with the second braces, the curly braces, and there should be another set of record. Okay, so this is non-relational database and no SQL. Over here, one particular advantage we can go ahead with non-relational database rather than relational database. We can have a hierarchical structure, but in columnar data, we cannot quickly create the hierarchy in the tabular level. Okay, just like in the, you can see those are the keys. Inside address keys, there are some sub key value pair as well. So we can create some hierarchical structure over here directly. Okay, over there, how we can represent it in tabular structure? There cannot be this kind of hierarchy. We already checked it. There may be some address ID in a particular table. In another table, there should be details of address. So when we'll be joining these two tables, then we can get each of the address related city, state, postal codes and all. But those should not be hierarchical in nature. There should not be some parent and child over there. But over here, we can decorate or organize the data in hierarchical manner. Okay, the same like phone number. Okay, so this is NoSQL or non-relational database.
Sir, I have a small question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, can you just come again through this hierarchical structures? I actually didn't get you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, hi Akshay. Yeah, just check it over here. And hierarchical structure means over columns. Let me show you quickly. Let me just open an Excel. So suppose I have a table. I have a SQL database having customer name. Okay, then customer address. So over there in the example, we can see, and in the tabular structure, we cannot split. Okay, we have customer address, and inside customer address, we cannot split it. Rather, let me just. Okay, so address ones, just like locality, city, postal code. In SQL, that means relational database, we cannot store the data in this manner. This is not feasible one actually. In the tabular, there should be columns only, not this kind of stuffs. Rather, we should be having in this way. That cannot be subsection or child format. That can be a different column. So just like in customer address, we have to put in this manner. City, customer address, maybe it should be only containing city, customer address, that can be postal code. Okay, there may be this level of segregation. We can use this thing in another column in this way. but not in hierarchical structure. But over here we can see, if I just maximize it, so this is the key value pair coming from address. It's starting another in address. Address is a key. The value should be another key value pair. So this is the hierarchical changes in address. We can see there is an indentation over here. We are having street address, city, state, postal code. Then address is closed. So that is the hierarchical one, hierarchical structure in NoSQL database. We can represent the data in this manner over here, but this is not possible. The hierarchical way of data structure is not possible in relational database. We cannot use in this way. Rather, we can push it over there in a column, a separate column. Okay. And over here, pushing data is not a different thing. I mean, we can put a key value pair in any time in NoSQL. But over there, we need to define the tabular structure first. Tabular structure means the particular tables and their column. We need to define the column first. What should be the columns of that particular table? And that particular column should be containing which kind of data, whether it's integer, whether it's float, whether it's a varchar, that means string data type, whether it's a date data type. So this kind of thing we need to declare first. Suppose we need to, particular, we do not have particular column to be inserted. Okay, we can directly insert some key value pair over here. There'll be no issue, but to insert a particular columns record, we need to introduce that column to the table first. When our structure is ready in the relational database, then only we can insert the record. So some limitation is there in relational databases as well. But as we'll be learning the data manipulation or data engineering parts, from starting from tomorrow onwards, we'll be focusing only SQL, the relational databases only. Okay, so just a heads up on today, how NoSQL thing is. You can get these terms in your project later. What is NoSQL, and also just I'm giving some heads up over there so that what is NoSQL and all, you can have the idea. Okay, so your doubt is cleared?
Yes,
Akshay?
yes, got it.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Thank you. If there is any doubt from anyone, please ask me. Okay. Okay. Moving on to the next topic. Yes. So there is another representation of data. The top one, we can see it's a relational database, year versus revenue. The same thing can be converted in particular pictorial diagram. This is the sake of the business, but the data is same. You can see the data is same. Okay. So this kind of data, actually the business owner, when we are preparing this data, we have to convert this thing in charts and graphs so that business owner, they can take easy decision what should be there or what should be there in future growth, and what is their previous revenues and all, based on what strategy they have taken for the previous, what should be the modification for the next year and all. So this kind of decisions they have to take by checking these graphs and charts. Okay. Oh yeah, there is some basic examples I used to show for every classes. So how to representation of this kind of data to this graphical data. We can also do this thing from Excel, but in business, we should be using some tools over there. Okay. I'm just discarding this thing. I'll be creating this thing by our own. So if this is visible, or let me just maximize this thing. So here is a relational database over here. Okay. We have in the relational database, it's a table having 4 column. Product, we have product related information should be there. We have price information of each of the product is there. Discount, okay, on top of price we have discounts. and final prices as well. Okay, so just like price minus discount, that should be the final price. Okay, each of the product, there are three products is been mentioned, so three records are there. One is cap, one is board, another one is pen drive. Okay, if I just transfer this thing in diagram, you can just select it. We can insert, we can select the particular graphs I want to check it over here. Let me choose 2D graph. Yeah, the same thing I used to show in earlier classes. So this is the pictorial representation of the same data. So this is another way of the representation of data. And especially the business user, when we are ready with the meaningful data, there are visualization team, which is also under data engineers team itself. They can design this kind of charts, graphs and all, and it is finally represented to the end user. That means the business itself. They can review the data and they can take their decisions on top of which strategy they need to undertake for their businesses. Okay. So, but over there I have showed the thing in Excel format, but this should not be the scenario. I mean, Excel should be there for low data, low volume of data, but this kind of charts, graphs will not be preparing by Excels. There are various business tools available. So I can mention this thing. Yeah, those are the visualization tools called Tableau, Click, Power BI. Power BI is a Microsoft tool. Cognos. So those kind of various tools should be there, which will be integrating the data from relational database and prepare those charts, graphs, various dashboards, and that can be show to in front of business so that they can take easy decisions on top of their business growths and all. Okay, so you can expertise of any of the tool in later. Now if you are, as you are joining as a data engineering basic courses, so you have the overall idea of what the data engineers are doing. So as you are joining in the company with the basic knowledge, you should be having some progress, and you need to know the businesses as well a bit for 1 or 2 years. Then you can get expertise of any of the ETL tool. What is ETL? I'll be coming to this thing maybe after some days. Any ETL tool or any visualization tool, anything. Or you can also be an expert in cloud as well. So nowadays cloud developers are there. They should be also coming under data engineers, but rather it can say it should be an infrastructure team as well. So you can work in either way, and you can build the cloud. I mean, you should be having the cloud expertise as well. So anyone you can take and um, bring your expertise on top of that subject area, and you can have your growth at your career. Okay. So, yeah, those are the topic for today as a introductory session. So, especially what we have learned, especially the difference between relational database and non-relational database and all. And tomorrow onwards, we'll be just focusing on the relational database, and we will be learning some more aspects of the relational database. Then I'll be just showing you some video. By this video, you can able to download. I mean, you can download some softwares. I mean, some open source softwares, just like MySQL database. So you can install the same database at your own. In your own machines, in your local machines, and we can learn the SQL query on top of that. Okay, so SQL is just manipulation of the data. Let's see that thing from tomorrow onwards. And any doubt or any stuck point for today's sessions, if there is any, please ask me. Today it's a small session. Tomorrow onward it should be a bigger one for almost 1 hour. So if there is any stuck point for today, if there is anything, tell me. Otherwise, you can quickly drop off. Okay, nothing. Okay, fine. Then let's drop off today, and we'll be catching up tomorrow with having more insights on top of data. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Yeah, thanks.